Hi everyone, Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping so you can get the most out of your tapping practice and you can eliminate self-sabotage so you can take the actions that you want to take every single day. Today we're going to be talking explicitly about that. And my guest is Dr. Kim D'Eramo. And Dr. Kim, like myself, is one of the 20 featured speakers this year in the Tapping World Summit. And the Tapping World Summit, if you don't know, is every single day over the course of 10 days. 2 free interviews are provided so you can get the most out of your tapping as you move through it. If you'd like to participate in the Tapping World Summit, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/summit. That's tappingqa.com/summit. Just as a note, with full transparency, at the end of the Tapping World Summit, they're going to make an offer to you for you to be able to purchase all of the recordings that you heard over the course of the summit. If you do use the link that I just provided, tappingqa.com/summit, and you do end up purchasing something, I'm going to end up getting an affiliate commission for that. Just wanted to be really clear about that. I wouldn't make the recommendation if I didn't believe in the World Summit, and you can participate in the summit absolutely free of charge. You don't have to purchase anything to get all of the value out of it. tappingqa.com/summit. I'll include a link in the show notes as well and on the website.
The biggest reason I've seen when people say tapping's not working is because they're trying to use tapping to make their symptoms go away instead of using tapping to feed and nurture their body.
This is Gene Montrostelli. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 351, originally aired February 21st, 2019. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me. Today, I have a conversation with Dr. Kim D'Eramo, where we're going to talk about the reason why you are not getting the results that you want with your tapping. Dr. Kim is a doctor, actual medical doctor, and she uses tapping regularly in her practice. And she was finding a number of her clients were not getting the relief that they wanted. So she went and investigated why that was happening. And so over the course of this conversation, we're going to talk about the 2 things that she sees most commonly that gets in the way for us getting our full results. And then we talk about how you can tap for that. One of the things that I have been doing with the podcast is I've been poking around the statistics, and it's really an amazing thing. It warms my heart to see the number of people who are listening to the show. And so what I wanted to do over the course of the next number of months was just give a shout out and a thanks by country to all the people who are listening. And we're going to move from the most listens to the least listens over the course of the next couple of months. So as we do this, know that when I mention the country that you are in, it's just me being appreciative of the fact that you take time every single week to listen. So this week, I'd like to thank all of my listeners in the United States, Australia, Canada, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. In addition to the conversation that I had with Dr. Kim, I actually did a bonus interview with her after we covered this topic. And we actually got more personally into the tapping practice that she does in her life and the very specific issues she's used tapping on. And so it's really great, not only for us to get a great conversation like this, where we're getting to hear practical results from a practitioner, but I always find it heartening to hear about a personal journey. And in the conversation, you actually can hear her get a little emotional, particularly when she's talking about her children and her husband, emotional in a really good way. The way you get access to that bonus podcast is all you need to do is become a supporter of the Tapping Q&A podcast. Just go to tappingqa.com/support. That's tappingqa.com/support. The link is in the show notes. If you are already one of the supporters, you should have received the podcast this morning in your supporter podcast feed. If you did not receive that notification this morning, all the supporters, just reach out, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. And thank you to all of those who are currently supporting the podcast. So without any further ado, here is my conversation with Dr. Kim. How did you originally find your way to tapping?
I was introduced to tapping from Nick Ortner's Try It On Everything documentary, like years back, because he has the tapping solution. And his tryitoneverything.com is now the tappingsolution.com. But I was practicing in my osteopathic medicine practice. At the time, I was still an ER doctor. I was practicing part-time in the ER, and I'd established this more of a holistic medical practice. It was mostly pain, people with chronic pain or athletes who want to be healthier or people with chronic symptoms. And I was very aware that there was this emotional connection to what was going on in the body. So I would always address that in different ways. When I found Nick's work, I was jumping up and down. I'm like, this is the key. Everyone needs to know that. And I invited all my practitioner friends over to my house to do this showing of the video, the documentary, because that these people in the documentary are learning how to tap and then asking questions and then guiding through it. So, it's people who are like, this is weird. What are you talking about? And then it helps you get a little acquainted with the energy system. And I think so many of my practitioner friends that I thought were pretty evolved had no clue about all of this that was going on beneath the surface. And to me, it was very intuitive. So I started using it immediately in my practice. I started using immediately for myself, was like, this is amazing. And I started using it like that day. I started using it in my practice. And I remember I had this one patient who came in who interestingly was an MD. He was a doctor as well as a psychiatrist, but he had this idea. I know you can't ever get me better. I'll always have this pain, but can you just help make it more manageable? And I always said, well, hey, what if we can get you out of pain? Would that be okay? And he laughed because I don't think he realized how much he bought into this idea that because he'd tried for years and couldn't get better, that it necessarily meant he would never get better. Okay, I just have to accept it. This is how it is. So I used tapping with him as well as the other work I was doing. And he called me up the next day and he said, okay, I have no idea what you did or how this happened, but I have had the first pain-free day I've had in a decade. And so the results were always pretty spectacular.
And so it's always fun as practitioners, and it's always fun personally in our own lives to have those experiences where this thing seems impossible. We do a little tapping and it's gone. And at the exact same time, I've seen experiences like that actually cause people problems because all of a sudden they start moving to this place of expectation. I will never forget working with a client where at the beginning of our session, she was so skeptical. She literally was just humoring me because she knew me for a really long time. 15 minutes later, she was frustrated because one round of tapping did not take care of this lifelong trauma that had been with her. And literally, you could see this arc in 15 minutes where she went from this is crap to this is amazing to this is too slow. And it's not always that short of an arc, but it's easy for us to see these one session miracles and see these 1 minute miracles and then bump into frustration when that doesn't happen all the time. When you are working with your clients, when you're working in your practice, when you're just doing tapping on your own, what are some of the reasons that when we're tapping, we don't have the same level of success from one time to another? Like, what are some of the things that you see inside of that?
The biggest reason I've seen when people say tapping's not working is because they're trying to use tapping to make their symptoms go away instead of using tapping to feed and nurture their body. And it's a completely different experience to use this as a modality to resource yourself, to feed and nurture the body, to allow emotional energy to move, to receive the compassion in these deep spaces that you most deeply need, which of course is going to allow healing on every level, even unimaginable. But when we do it with the expectation or the intention, I'm doing this so I don't have to have that pain. I'm doing this so my relationship with my mother isn't so bad anymore. I'm doing this so I finally have money. We're doing it out of frustration or impatience instead of out of self-love.
And I have a lot of sympathy for a client who bumps into a problem like that, because the thing that is the leading edge for us in our experience is the symptom. Like the thing that I notice is the pain in my knee, the pain in my lower back, the, oh God, I have to go talk to this person again. That's our leading edge experience. So how then do we because tapping can be really effective in a short-term way on some of those leading edge experiences, how then do we recognize, identify, move to a place where we're not just dealing with the leading edge symptom so that we're getting healing, not just relief?
We've got to be willing to receive more than we thought we signed up for. So a lot of times people would see me in my practice and it was like, fix my knee, fix my hip, fix my headaches. And I would realize very soon that, whoa, this person's entire operating system is ready to transition. So that instead of being, here I am, I'm married and I'm taking care of my kids and maybe have this part-time job and here I go and let's just make the pain go away so I can do this regularly scheduled program. And I would have the awareness of like, whoa, that something much bigger is coming, like a whole revolutionize your whole life. And this pain is actually serving to kind of have you question everything or have you look at things different or have you be willing to honor yourself more fully in the equation of your life so that something bigger can come in. And so often I think we're not aware that life could be that generous. Mm-hmm. And we think, no, I just want to get the job done and just do it without pain. So we're kind of committed to staying in the same thread we're in, that the illness or the pain or the problem is calling us to transcend, is calling us beyond.
So it's one of those, sometimes I feel like I'm too close to see what's actually going on inside of my own experience. Because if I am in a significant amount of pain, like, it's all fine and good that you want me to think really big thoughts about how all of this is a transition. And in the moment, I just hurt.
Yes. In the moment, you need to receive what you need to receive in order to have the bigger thing come in. So it still is always about, what do I need to receive in this 10 seconds so that I can be open to more? Because sometimes we need more courage, we need more strength, we need compassion. So tapping is a great modality because it calls us into the present moment to meet that frustration or to meet that impatience that we have, or to meet maybe the way we feel like overwhelmed with the pain. Like we keep talking about pain, but I know it's also for anxiety and for and whatever's coming up. If I'm so overwhelmed with it that I can't allow myself to expand into something more, we've got to just meet where I am in this 10 seconds as fully and completely as we can. And then that creates the space for more.
So then what are the things that we do, or what are the questions that we ask as we're creating that extra space for ourselves?
My favorite question is always, how could this be the best thing that ever happened? I had a really hard experience with my mother, which this has been the most challenging relationship in my life, times 100. My husband as well, we have a really intense relationship, and that relationship has also really called me into my fullest expression, and it's not always comfortable. But with my mother, there's just been so much pain. And so recently it all came to a head. I let her know, our plans for when we're coming home for the holidays and what we're doing. And she was so upset, and it brought up everything, the way she behaved and what she said just brought up so much for me, decades and decades of stuff. And I know that I've got to let go of her expectations of me, and I've got to let go and really free myself in order for myself to be happy. But still, it was so hard. And I woke up the other morning next to my beautiful little daughter, and I thought, wait a minute, I can't let myself float around with this. I want to clear this for once and for all and for good. And I always ask, how could this be the best thing that ever happened? And my husband, of course, was telling me, Kim, this is a blessing. This is the biggest blessing. And I'm like, I know, but I didn't really feel it. And that morning, when I chose to really release it as fully as I could, I embraced all of the pain and was aware that, Kim, this is allowing you obviously to be a better parent and a better mother, but this is like the final layer of whatever you've carried here that's really preventing you from being free. And as we end the year, we come into a whole new year, and like so much that happens through the holidays. I am so committed to showing up as fully as me as I can and receiving the reflection of all of what's really me as possible. That isn't it perfect that these layers that have held me back and these layers where I've still been attached or willing to just victimize myself are coming up to such a head and so intensely, so I can be compassionate with myself and I can choose beyond that, because my awareness of how much pain this is causing me was exactly the thing I needed to have the strength to commit to something new. And for me, it was a commitment to love myself unconditionally.
So that's a big leap. Were there any connecting dots between
Yes.
this experience? Because it's one of those things. Like I can intellectually get behind the idea of I'm going to love myself unconditionally.
Yes.
And it's a really easy thing to put on a bumper sticker. Or I saw an Instagram post recently, and it was a little bottle, and instead of saying love potion on it, it said self-love potion, which I thought was a really lovely sentiment.
Yes.
And self-love is a little more complicated than a really cute Instagram post. So what does that process look like? Like how do you engage in that?
I have found the key.
Awesome. Tell me.
I was very aware, I have been for a while, at least like on the mind level, that relationships are a reflection of us, or the things that come up, the things that trigger us in our relationships are really pointing us toward the wounds that are unhealed, the parts of us that we are most ready to release. And so for me, anchoring into what is it I want to receive? What is it I want in my life? What's the abundance and the joy and the fruition of where my business is going and what I'm creating, of the fun I get to have with my family, of the health I get to have in my body? What is it that I'm asking for? Because relationships will actually like sand out the rough spots that allow you to be that allow you to really be fully who you want most to be. So if I can anchor into the awareness of what I'm asking for and what I've already committed to, because for myself, it's not just like, yeah, I'd really like to have a more connected relationship with my husband, but I guess, well, we have kids, so we can't do that. Like, I'm not buying into any of that BS or the belief systems that say you can't really have it, so just settle. I'm very fully committed to, if there's an inspiration, I want to have an amazing, passionate sex life with my husband. I want to have an amazing, intimate relationship with my daughter and now my little son. I want to have an amazing business that I love, where I'm doing what I love to do and invest at. I don't have these little, I've released a lot of those little things for me that used to say, oh, but you can't have that. Oh, but you're not good enough. Oh, but blah, blah, blah. There's a lot that I've, through tapping and other things too, been willing to see, been willing to embody it and let it go. So for me, there's a huge commitment to my yes. And, I wrote my next book. It's coming out in the spring. I'm super excited. Like, there's a yes there to let this come through me. That makes me so alive. So when I'm committed to that, I sure the hell better show up for the lessons that are assisting me in embodying that. And I know that the biggest pains, the emotional pain or even physical, are an invitation for us to move into a more fluid expression of self. So I have this understanding, but I think when you're clear on what your ask is, what am I really asking for, and how committed am I? Am I a 10 out of 10? Am I a 5 out of 10? Committed to having that relationship, to having love in my life. And so if you feel for yourself, where are you? You can use tapping or whatever to meet that. Like, well, why is it not a 10 out of 10? What would it take for it to be a 10 out of 10? And either that's some version of, it's got to be a way better vision, or something about, I've got to be willing to release the beliefs that are in the way that have me think I can't really have it. So when we can do that and clear and come into that 10 out of 10 commitment, we have to show up to say yes to the path that life guides us to create that.
So it's interesting to draw a contrast between what you just said there and the story that you started out with in talking about the doctor friend of yours who showed up and did not believe and had no expectation this thing that could be transformed. When it comes to tapping and it comes to doing any of this sort of transformation work, how do you see expectations, positive, negative, good and bad, impacting our ability to use tapping or anything else as a healing tool?
We can have a lot of, because we're like a culture so committed to like pleasure, not pain, good, not bad, or this whole like positive, negative, we can get in the duality of it where we're not going to embrace all that is. I just want the positive. I'm not going to embrace all that is. I just want the good stuff. And it really is totally required that we're willing to meet all of it. My shame, my anger, my hatred with total willingness, not with suppression so I can finally get the good thing and make this bad thing go away, but with total willingness to embrace all of it, because it's in the embracing that we awaken to fluidity, to abundance, to love. Like all of what pure love is not a positive, negative. It's a truth that goes beyond both. It transcends both. So we must embrace all of it in order to actually embody pure love. If I say, oh, I have a positive relation with my mother and I'm like tapping away, I only have good things with my mother. Well, it's a rejection. I'm rejecting everything else that's there, and what you resist persists. So in my medical practice is now a completely different paradigm. It's based on the understanding that we're made of energy, emotional energy, physical, mental, all kinds of, we're energy. And when we approach ourselves that way, there isn't the ability to exclude. It's through embracing that we come into a harmonic, like a freedom and a fluid nature. So if I'm going to try to fight disease and kill cancer and beat, diabetes, like I'm going to end up, what you resist persists. So I'm going to end up with maybe a temporary fix at best or an escape, but it won't be a true lasting freedom.
So then how do we accept without settling? Because oftentimes when we say, oh, I'm just going to accept things how they are, like that can be perceived, particularly when I'm working with a client who's trying to escape pain.
Yes.
And I'm saying, well, we need to accept where we are. It sounds like I'm saying to you, well, you just need to stay stuck where you are. And so how do we accept where we are without settling that that's how it's going to be? Does that question make sense?
That question is one of the most important distinctions we could be talking about. Mm-hmm. So there's a vast difference between settling, which is a suppression of self. It's a compromise. It's from a lack perspective. I can't have it all, so I might as well just settle for this. And actual acceptance, which is I embrace all things in grace and ease. It's an ascension. And the biggest difference that we have with this is in the mind. We're trying to think about it and figure it out. And in the mind, we could write a book on this and you still wouldn't actually transcend. You just understand more stuff. Yeah. But if you can actually receive through, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to use tapping as a way to love and nurture my body. I love my body unconditionally. I'm willing to receive what I need unconditionally. So I can allow a shift in whatever suppressions are going on, whatever's holding me back from full aliveness. And in there is a full acceptance of all that I am. But if I'm trying to fix it and change it because I can't accept it, I shouldn't just settle for less. I have to have more. What I'm creating is more resistance. So true acceptance is pure love. I love and embrace my shame. I love and embrace that, I'm holding resistance right now and it's okay. You can shift everything if you can come into the alignment of accepting all that is exactly as it is, because that opens you to receive more. So there's nothing about it that's about settling or less than. It's about embracing and receiving.
And as you say that, I was recently having dinner with like holidays, meeting someone new, trying to explain my work, all of that sort of stuff, like you're doing as you're sitting around a table for 6.5 hours, gorging on lots and lots of food. And I was trying to explain what I do. And I said, I think what it really comes down to is with my clients, I try and help them to honestly level with where they actually are and then give them tools to make new choices if they want to make new choices. And in some capacity, I can hear an echo in what you are saying in being able to accept where we are. Like it's not a I am embracing it as a thing I'm holding on to, but it's a honest recognition of this is what is really happening. And because I now know what is really happening, it then gives me the opportunity to choose to respond in lots of ways. And, there are times in which, like, being a grumpopotamus is fun. Like, there are times where I enjoy being really angry. Now, it's not a place I want to live for a really long time, but I need to throw that temper tantrum inside of my head over this thing that happened. And part of the reason that it doesn't last forever is I'm honest with, okay, this is the reason why I'm really bent out of shape. Okay, I've got that out of my head. Now I have the opportunity to choose something different if I want, or I can choose to stay being angry. And hopefully I don't, but at least it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, this is where I am. I'm being honest about what the reality is, which now gives me a choice to make something new.
Yes, the acceptance is what that inner part of us most needs. That grumpy one who's resistant or stubborn or whatever really most needs love. And so it doesn't mean, oh, it's okay, I'm so grumpy, and so now I'm not going to work at it and change it because then I'll always be grumpy. It's a lie. It's a lie that as you embrace yourself with pure love, you're going to get worse or stay stagnant. The truth is, as you embrace yourself with pure love, you will always ascend. Period. The end.
And it's interesting as we, going back to that question of acceptance and settling, I've actually found myself, now that I think about it, tapping on that lots of times, where I'm actually tapping on the fact that I am, by acknowledging where I am, I'm simply acknowledging everything that has led to this moment and has created this moment. And this moment informs the next moment, but I don't have to stay here. And so I'm actually saying out loud that I'm accepting this is what is going on while I'm tapping. And I'm also saying this is not my permanent state, or it doesn't have to be my permanent state if I don't want to, which then allows me to go, okay, great. I've now recognized that's the case. And I can now attack the issue that's actually there that needs transforming.
It's even more powerful to just be willing.
Yeah.
Fully embody it. Okay, fine. This is my permanent state. Because the mind's going to play tricks. Well, what if this is your permanent state? And try to get you to resist. But acceptance is actually true willingness. And when you are willing to feel and embody everything exactly as it is, you are in a higher resonance. You are just by virtue of the willingness, you're in a higher resonance than the frequency of resistance. And so resignation, or like, oh, I just got to accept this as it is and settle for whatever. Okay. Resignation is a completely different frequency than willingness. And the mind can't quite understand, but the body feels, and it is astronomically different. And the willingness to embody whatever I'm embodying, as long as I'm embodying it, is the thing that is the key to expansion.
So lots of fun concepts inside of there. Someone's walking away from this conversation. They're going to hit stop on this audio. They're going to spend 5 minutes tapping. What is the first thing that you think they should be tapping on that makes it easier to kind of resonate with and step into this as a disposition?
I'm willing to embody everything I'm embodying unconditionally.
I love that. Unconditional is the difficult part.
Yes,
because the instant we make any sort of statement, all the yeah buts start popping up, and those are the pieces that are the conditions, the parts, the things that we're struggling with inside of that.
Well, and it comes from the idea that we are limited. And when we realize we are infinite, it makes it all so much easier to transcend, because I'm not this body, and I'm not this 45-year-old woman, and I'm not the mother. I'm an infinite being having this physical experience, and okay, I can let it be whatever it looks like in this 10 seconds. We're even in this construct of time that's artificial, where we project this future that I'm always going to have this pain, and if I accept it, I'm always going to be in this pain, and I'll be miserable forever.
Yep.
but that's not in any way true. We only live in this 10 seconds. So can I be more willing to show up fully in this 10 seconds so that I have a more abundant life? And that will create a completely different future reality. Yep. But yeah, I think we can go for the unconditional willingness when we connect with that part of us that's infinite and we're sourced.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
It's been so great to be here. I love that we got to meet.
So there you go. Lots of really good, useful stuff. If you would like to learn more about Dr. Kim and the work that she is doing, because she's written a best-selling book and has created a lot of really amazing resources, all you need to do is go to tappingpodcast.com. Click on the link for episode 351. That's tappingpodcast.com. Episode 351. If you happen to be in the website right now and down below the player, you will see all of Dr. Kim's appropriate contact information, as well as links to get access to those other amazing resources. And if you'd like to hear another comprehensive interview with Dr. Kim, she is on the first day of the Tapping World Summit. Just go to tappingqa.com/summit to be able to sign up for that, to receive that absolutely free of charge. If you have not done so already, I have a free 10-part guide to help you to eliminate self-sabotage using tapping. Just go to tappingqa.com. You'll see a big blue button. If you happen to be listening to the podcast right now in the website, up in the right-hand side, you'll see one of those big blue buttons. Click on it, and we will start sending you that guide one part at a time so you're not overwhelmed. If you have any questions or comments about tapping or the interview that we did today, if you have a recommendation for someone we should be talking to in the future or a topic I should be covering in the future, all you need to do is drop me a note, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. Or if you're on the website, just click on that contact link up above. If you happen to be one of those people who have downloaded the free Tapping Q&A app, all you need to do is click on the contact link inside of that, where you can send me a voice memo or an email from right inside of the app. If you haven't done so already, go into your app store for your Apple device, for your Android device, for your Google device. Just search Tapping Q&A. The app is absolutely free. It gives you access to our entire 10-year catalog of audios that appear on the website, as well as a number of tapping scripts that are just right there in the app. So you can just tap along to it without even having to listen. Again, it's absolutely free. Just go to your app store, search Tapping Q&A. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli, Tapping Q&A 2016. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli or Tapping Q&A.